Welcome to Chicago Bulls Chat with C-Red UK. This podcast is part of the Fans First Sports Network. Wherever or however you're listening, make sure to rate, review and subscribe. It helps us out and means you never miss another episode. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave some comments for us to get back to. And for all the C-Red UK action, check out the Discord channel and across the socials. Now, over to your hosts, Matt Hearn and Neill Dunn.
Welcome back. I'm Matt, and as always, joined by Neill. How are we doing, Neill?
Okay. No, I'm not. I'm really stressed. Life has been throwing me curveball after curveball for the last kind of week. So I'm actually looking forward to having a bit of a chat. We have a few things to talk about tonight as well, which is great. Or, well, not necessarily great subjects, but some Bulls content at least.
Yeah, I know how you feel about being maxed out and stuff like that. So hence why we're recording on Thursday and not a Tuesday. But
yes.
So we'll get into it. There has been little bits of Bulls news coming out through the week, obviously as we get closer to Media Day on Monday and then obviously training camp. There was a piece come out from Darnell Mayberry the other day saying that the players had been down in Miami doing like mini camps that had to be paid for by the team or by the players, as the team couldn't pay for it or whatever it was. Some stupid NBA rule. Apparently everyone was full participant, and it does explain when I messaged you the other week all them Instagram stories from like DJ Stewart and Bitim and Buzelis that were going to Miami, I guess. Obviously no footage. Obviously must be all behind closed doors type stuff. A little bit that come out of it really was P. Will sort of aggravating his injury, which we'll get to in a little bit about the AK Billy interviews yesterday, because they covered a little bit of that as well. Lonzo was supposedly a full participant as well, although apparently has had a week out with COVID, which is always a good start. You know, why not? Didn't realize.
Why not? Indeed.
Didn't realize COVID was still a thing, to be honest. But you know, I thought that was like 2020.
Apparently, it's still rampant. Just now, we've learned to live with COVID.
It's just a cold, isn't it? Really.
I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that with a barge pole. Yeah,
it's not quite,
if that's what you think, that's all on you.
It's not quite man flu. The thing is, you don't know if you've got it or not now, anyway, do you? So, because
a lot of the time, apparently, yeah.
Nobody gets tested anymore, apart from Lonzo. So yeah, that was pretty much it from that Darnell Mayberry thing, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah.
Then, what day are we on now? Thursday. Yesterday, we get a cryptic video from Derrick Rose. Oh, he was asked to be waived by Grizzlies on Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? Monday, Tuesday, whatever day it was. And obviously people were jumping, he's going to retire, he's coming back to Bulls, he's get him to Celtic so he can get his ring and all this sort of stuff. And then we get that cryptic video yesterday, and then this morning we get the news that he is actually retiring.
Yeah.
Which has sent Bulls Nation all over the place. And I'm still getting now whether it's off the Bulls proper account or somebody else sharing something else about him. Yeah. Derrick Rose is retiring. Like I said to you before, at least he's able to do it on his terms. He's not been forced into it. Obviously, the big thing now is how the Bulls honour it, basically, and honour his career. So I'll let you have your little say. And
yeah, well, I mean, I have a couple of things to say. First and foremost, I'll get the negative thing out of the way, and then I'll go into all the positive. And there's a hell of a lot more positive to say than negative. But the one negative thing I have to say is that people have kind of jumped on it to the extreme on the socials. Some people are talking about him like the guy has died, or like he had his career cut short, which of course very nearly did happen, but he ended up managing to have a very full and effective career even after his injuries in Chicago. So in that respect, that he's still with us. He's just no longer an NBA player. He's retiring from the game. I'm sure he'll still have some sort of involvement in, as he says, the sport that gave him his freedom and his love and his safe space. So, that bit of it aside, all the praise and all the love that has been put out to Derrick throughout the course of today, like you say, I'm still getting notifications constantly about it as well. I think it's fantastic. I think it's amazing because let's not kid ourselves, right? When Derrick Rose was in Chicago playing as a Chicago Bull last, or at least on the roster as a Chicago Bulls last, the city and the fans, for the vast majority, had turned on him. Nobody wanted Derrick in Chicago anymore. Everyone was calling him Mr. Glass. He was a bust. Get him out. He's wasting money. And he was, ultimately sent packing. And it was only over time that people began to respect and realize what he had brought to Chicago while he was here. And thankfully, a lot of the anger and that dissipated. And when they saw that he had managed to actually have a career after that, I think he got that respect back around the league, and particularly in the hearts of Bulls fans. So it's nice to see now that all that has been just pushed to one side, and everyone is just feeling nothing but love for Derrick Rose and appreciating the excitement and the joy that he brought to Bulls fans while he was a Bull and while he was healthy, before he took those horrible turns and basically knackered his knees for the rest of his Bulls career. I love Derrick Rose. I was lucky enough to see him play. I watched as much of his games as I could. Back then, it wasn't as easy as it is now to watch every game. And he was just a force. He was just incredible. Derrick could do things that I'd never seen a guard do night in, night out the way he did. I think he fully deserved his MVP. He fully deserves all the credit he's getting now. He was incredible, and he was the best thing that we've seen in a Bulls jersey since the 90s, both after the 90s up to Derrick's time and since. We haven't seen anything like him. And I think it's great. I hope he comes back and gets some sort of a, like you say, celebration in Chicago. I'd really like it to be on the first home game, but I'm also not fooling myself. As Casey Johnson tweeted earlier on this evening or this afternoon, it makes perfect sense for it to be New York. He has spent most of his time with New York and Tom Thibodeau outside of Chicago, even though he's played for several other teams. So it would make perfect sense to do it on a night that New York are playing the Bulls in the UC.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he is, well, he was what he was, should I say, and it does need to be honoured in some way. Everyone's sort of saying that bring him back for this one day thing so he can retire as a Bull.
Yeah.
I get it. I get the sentiment behind it. But he's not retiring as a Bull, is he? Do you know what I mean? Didn't play his last game in a Bulls jersey. That's how I look at it, with these one-day contract things. And, why people are saying that obviously Bulls can't do it on the opening day because they've got this 21-man, or the roster's full now with this 21-man thing.
That's the problem. It's the full roster, yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, they'd have to have him on the 15-man roster to have him there for opening day. So you're not going to do that and then have to find somebody else. I know it doesn't matter at the end of the bench and all that sort of stuff, but to me, you can still honour him without him officially being a Bull. Do you know what I mean?
It's just a nice touch that people have seen done before and that they'd like to see again. I think more so than anything else. It's just one of those little niceties, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's too nostalgic for me. Just for something that's still going to be the same, whether he's on a one-day contract or not. He's going to turn up at the UC. He's going to have everyone cheering for him. He's going to have Joakim Noah there, probably Lil Deng there. Obviously, all the coaches that he's worked with maybe turn up, or who can turn up. Whether he's on a one-day contract or not, they're still going to turn up for it. So, to me, that side of it doesn't really matter. They need to obviously honour him and appreciate him in some way, but the way some Bulls fans are talking on Twitter at the minute, like you say, it's as if he's died, and he hasn't. Like you say, he is still here, and I guess a lot of it depends what he actually wants as well.
True.
We know he's not somebody who particularly likes the limelight. He's said that he was happy in Memphis because that's technically where his career started. Not his NBA career, obviously, and it's also where it finished. It's where his wife's from. It's where he's, or met his wife, whatever it was he said. So, yeah, Chicago is home for him, but he's also left Chicago and he's put down roots somewhere else. You know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, he might not want a big ceremony.
Yeah, see, I'm going to push back on that a little, because I think that for the most part throughout his career, he has been a reserved, quiet, private guy, right? He doesn't particularly like the big show, and all you need to do is think about the All-Star game where the lads all came out dancing and Derrick was having none of it. But at the same time, he has made a big deal out of this retirement by the way he's gone about announcing it. So he's obviously craving something about it. He obviously wants to go out with some sort of a bang of some description. Otherwise, he could have just, sent out a press statement and slipped away into the night, and that'd be the end of it. But no, he's made a big deal of it with this announcement. So maybe he does want something.
Who knows?
Yeah, and also just on the Chicago thing as well, Derrick has never let go of his Chicago roots, even to look at his hand and see the tattoo of the Chicago skyline. He obviously holds a lot of love for his home city.
Yeah, obviously, but I say he's also got a lot of strong feelings towards Memphis as well, hasn't he? Which is never hidden. So probably, and New York, I guess. But
although I think a lot of that's just to do with the fact that Tom Thibodeau was there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I've got nothing else on D Rose. Don't know if you have.
No, nothing else. Just what a legend.
Yeah, and obviously we will be eagerly anticipating whatever ceremony comes out of it, and who knows, maybe that jersey retirement, get the 5th one up in the rafters.
I do think it will happen. Like, as we've heard before, it's been unofficially retired anyway. So now we're just going to wait for the official revealing of the jersey going up into the rafters. But don't expect it to happen straight away. It could be years down the road before it finally gets raised.
Yeah, because we know that Jerry doesn't care about basketball.
Well, not as much as he cares about baseball anyway. And we've seen how much attention he's given to the baseball as well over the years, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, moving on. Yesterday, AK and Billy was on 670 The Score. I think they did it last year as well, didn't they? Kind of like a pre-media day kind of. We'll answer the questions in the same way we always
because
answer
it was
them.
kind of like an additional one more than we were used to getting, and now they seem to have done it again this year. So maybe it's becoming a thing.
Yeah, and like I say, one of the things that they covered was P. Will, pretty much saying that they're ramping him up, ready for training camp. Again, no definitive answer.
Yeah,
and I mean, it's not a Bulls off season if we're not worrying about the health of at least one player.
right.
So,
but someone said, I can't remember who it was that said it, and whether it was written or whether it was spoken. I can't remember either, but it may very well have been the CHGO boys. But it, it's crazy to think that right now Lonzo Ball is closer to a return than Patrick Williams.
Yeah, or as far as we know,
That's
anyway.
just mad. Yeah, as far as we know.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously. I mean, when Billy and AK do these sort of things, I'd never read too much into it because it's just your typical media answers, and I think you can take it how you want to take it. And at the minute, everyone wants to take things negative when it comes to Bulls. Obviously, another one of the big things that they said is that, well, Billy's basically saying people have got, or players have got to earn the minutes. Although we've gone down this sort of youth movement, they're not guaranteed to get the minutes, including Buzelis, who he said could end up spending time in the G League, which that is a bit that sent Bulls Nation all over the place as well.
Yeah, hasn't landed well at all.
And I get it. I do. I get what Billy's saying. But at the same time, you don't want to see him. You don't want to see your number 11 pick down in the G League where he spent last season. But then do you want to see him getting splinters all season as well? He needs to be playing. He needs to develop. Yeah, you develop him around the main roster. If we were seeing it with obviously the likes of Dalen and Julian last year. But I kind of think we didn't know what they were. You kind of like to think we know what Matas is, or what he can bring at least. And yeah, he's got to get used to life in the NBA, I guess, which is one of the big things that Billy was sort of trying to get across, I think, in what he was saying. But the only way he's going to learn the NBA playing is playing.
Yeah.
To me, him being in the G League's not going to achieve anything because he's had a year in the G League.
Yeah, and that's the difference between him and other players that have been drafted more traditionally. He has done the G League thing. So is he really going to benefit any by being back down there again for any kind of length this season? I don't think so. I think have him on the bench, give him ticket whenever you can. And if Patrick Williams isn't 100%, he may very well get that opportunity right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So
it's like we've said when we did our predictions for him and our expectations for him. They've got to let him play through mistakes.
Yes.
Because he is going to make them. He's probably going to make a lot of them.
Yeah.
But the only way, as we've said time and time again with players like Dalen and Julian and that in the past, the only way that they learn is by keep playing. Billy can't watch him go out there and dribble it off his foot and then say, right, take a seat, that's you for the game now. He's got to get straight back out there or keep him out there. Don't even mention it. Do you know what I mean? Just let him, because he'll know in his own head that what he's done. And,
of course.
And he will want to put it right. So, but it does add into my prediction, one of my bold predictions, that Dale and Terry will be more productive than Buzelis this season. So, possibly, who knows? Trying to think what else they said. Obviously, they talked about the. Oh, go on.
Yeah, well, one of the other things that kind of seems to have landed quite badly, and soured in a lot of people's mouths is that we're going to try and win every game.
Yeah, overdevelopment.
Yes.
Oh, that's how people read it.
And that's exactly it. And that completely laughs in the face of what everybody, both fans and professionals and everything in betwixt, thinks this season is going to be about. This season it's got to be about player development. It's got to be about protecting that number 10 position for the pick from San Antonio. And by saying we're going to go out and try and win every game, I mean, unless they can actually get close to winning a decent number of games, which I don't think they will, you don't think they will, most people don't think they will, it's going to be counterproductive. It's going to go against every single idea for this season that could benefit the growth and development, not only of these young players, but of this team going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, I get why people reacted the way they did with that, but then at the same time, he's not going to come out and say, yeah, we're just going to see what happens, and hopefully we can keep that top 10 pick, and if we win games, we win games. If we lose games, we lose games. It's, but he's not.
No, I get that. I get that. And he couldn't come out and say we're going to be competitive because, he's kind of run out of C words at this stage without angering people. But at the same time, all he needed to do was, rather than focus on winning or losing, focus on, this season is going to be about seeing what we have, seeing what players we have, seeing how much we can continue to grow, see how much we can develop these players and bring them along and bring them with the team so that they all work as a unit. All that kind of lip service would have been fine. To actually categorically state, we are going to try and win every game. It's just pie in the sky. It's just ridiculous talk, if you ask me.
Yeah. And yeah, at the end of the day, like I say, I don't take too much notice in what they do actually say. It's just
Darnell bomb.
Is there?
Yeah, Darnell Mayberry. The Chicago Bulls have exercised the fourth-year option for guard Dalen Terry. So DT is staying longer term with the Bulls.
Happy with that. I'm sure
Me too.
There's a lot of Bulls Nation that won't be.
I do apologise for any background noise, by the way. It's not me having a scratch, it's my dog. If I lock her out the room, she'll be barking. So I left her in the room and now she's having a scratch. So I do apologise.
That's throwing me now. Lonzo Ball.
That could have gone along quite well if it was a male dog, but
Yeah, Darnell bombs and dog scratching and whatever. Let's get back to Lonzo Ball. Obviously, one thing that they said is obviously they don't know. Well, obviously they don't know what to do with Lonzo. They don't know how he's going to react, how his knee's going to hold up, and I get that because nobody's ever come back from this injury. So they can't give a definitive answer on Lonzo Ball. And at the end of the day, there's a sense of continuity there, which we all love, because that's how we felt for the last 2 years with Lonzo Ball. Is he back? Is he not? Is he back? Is he not? So why change the habits? The one thing I messaged
quite like
you,
the way they talked about Lonzo, though. Sorry, I just quite like the way they talked about it, because there was no kind of feeding any bullshit. Basically, it was like, look, we don't really know what he can do. We know he's done this much. We're hoping he's going to be able to progress further, and that was it.
Yeah, and it's like I messaged you yesterday when all these sort of tweets and that were coming out from the thing. The one thing that really got me was when Billy said, we owe it to Lonzo to do whatever it was he said, like, manage his minutes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that he can have a career beyond this season.
Yeah, we owe Lonzo nothing. Lonzo owes Bulls, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, it's Lonzo that's put the effort in, put the work in, done the rehab, got himself in a position where he's potentially back on the court. Well done, great story. But you've also took 60 million out of this organisation and left us a little bit hamstrung. So what do we owe Lonzo? The only thing now is Lonzo owes us in the fact that he can show he can stay on the court, he can be a Lonzo type player that he was, and then get traded. That's all I think anybody owes anybody out of this now, is Lonzo basically getting the Bulls something at the end of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that's not a new contract with the Bulls.
You know, it could happen.
So yeah, I mean, obviously I've made my feelings on the whole Lonzo thing perfectly clear. So I know it's not everybody's opinion, and it is maybe a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I've had enough now. So, and the last little bit I remember him sort of saying is about how they want to play, and the thing now seems to be play fast. That's it. And I mean, there's obviously a lot cleverer people out there that have delved into stats and the usage and the effectiveness in the 36 or whatever it is people bang on about, which makes no sense to anybody that's not a stat nerd. You know, because you watched it and you knew we were slow. You knew we were slow to get shots off.
Mm-hmm.
When we got the shots off, we knew they missed. You know, we know DeMar was a big reason why the offense was slowed down.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, you know, the league has got faster. Other teams in the league have got faster, and Bulls haven't. We've got the players on the roster to do it, I think, as well.
Oh yeah, I think so.
They've just got to work out how to merge it all as a NBA offense now, basically.
Well, see, I think the problem is that, like you say, there definitely is the squad there to play faster, and you know, there's no two ways about it. As much as we love DeMar, and DeMar was one of the major factors as to why this team played slower. You know, he would hold the ball up in the mid range. He would, like you used to say, spider crawl down the court. And it was a lot of ISO play, and that slows the game down. The ball's sticking, the ball's not moving. So that's all going to change in theory now, and it is going to be a faster run offense. Now we've gone from not having any true point guards to now having 2 true point guards if we have Lonzo and Giddey both on the court. So that's going to change the dynamic of the team instantly, even though there's not been a huge overhaul of the roster. There's been enough. But the problem is they also mentioned about playing a modern game. And the modern NBA, as much as we don't necessarily like it, it's a 3-point game. And we still don't have the players on this roster to be a threat from distance, at least not that we've seen.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because then the next thing they said is about the defense, and it's going to have to be basically a team effort or a combined effort, whatever it was that they said. And again, it's things that we have mentioned and every Bulls fans mentioned is 3-point shot and defense. And once again, they've done nothing to improve it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, technically, if P. Will's back and Lonzo's back, that improves it, doesn't it? They're both 3-and-D guys. But at the moment, we don't know if P. Will's back, and we don't know if Lonzo's back. Come on, respond. I threw that one out there just to trigger you.
Yeah.
For anyone just listening and not watching this right now, Matt's face is a picture.
Yeah. End it on a positive. One thing that I do remember him saying is about how Kobe White stepped up as a leader.
Yes.
And obviously they're expecting big things out of Kobe again.
Yeah.
And quick sort of flex. Before anyone mentioned Kobe being a leader, I think it was when we did our predictions for him last year. I said he was going to take a step as a leader. So that's that.
Yeah.
That's my little flex.
I'll 100% back you up on that. As much as I'd love to say you didn't, you did.
Exactly. So I think that's pretty much it. That's all I can remember him saying. We'll probably get the exact same conversation out of him on Monday when it's the official media day.
Yeah.
So, just on media day, one thing I'm looking forward to is Kobe scaring Zach or winding Zach up in some sort of way, because that seems to be a bit of a media day tradition.
Yeah, it does.
So it's always good for a laugh. Help support the podcast and the brand at C-Reg UK by heading to our merch site, where you'll find a variety of designs on things like mugs, t-shirts and hoodies, including our Bulls Ellis and Flop of the Fro, with plenty more designs still to come. Link is in the description. So, not on the last episode, but the episode before, we started our predictions / expectations for the 15-man roster as it is, not the 17 players from Chicago that we've added around it. Obviously, we did Lonzo, Bitim, and Buzelis last time, and we're going to carry on the alphabetical trend and get into them tonight. Hopefully, get them done before pre-season. So
try and fly for a few now.
Yeah, so it's all down in the books basically, so that we can throw it out there next year when we were right or wrong, as I did with Kobe White being a leader. And first one up tonight is everybody's favourite from Chicago, Jevon Carter. Obviously, last season everybody had pretty big expectations, and we soon saw that wasn't going to be the case.
Nope.
In fairness, we did see the odd game from him where you thought we were getting it.
Yeah, she got a couple of bull of the games, didn't he?
Yeah, because there was times where he looked like that 3-point scorer that we thought we were getting, and his full court pressure is something that you don't really see a lot of in the NBA now, like on the defensive end. But for whatever reason, there was just no consistency with it.
No.
And I think going into this season, is that far down, potentially that far down the sort of the order, basically, in guards, that where does he get his minutes? And nobody wants to actually see him get minutes. You know? I mean, yeah. I've got a weird little feeling that he does actually have a good season, but nobody wants it.
No, jog on, Carter.
I don't know why. I just think that, because we've got another 2 years of him.
No, we don't.
On his deal,
he's going to be packaged up in a deal and got rid of.
And he's essentially backup to the backup now, isn't he? In terms
he's
of point
back up
guard.
to the backup of the backup, I think, at this stage.
If Lonzo's probably the backup point guard, so when Lonzo goes down after 2 games and doesn't play for the rest of the season, that's where Jevon's going to get his minutes. Aside from that, I can't see him.
Is it though? Would Kobe not slot in, be ahead of him as the point guard?
Not as the backup, because he's going to be out there.
No, not as the backup. But if you're saying if Lonzo gets injured, would Kobe not be kind of like the secondary point guard then, when Giddey's not on the floor?
Who knows?
I know we don't know. I'm only throwing as much shit at the wall as I can to see how much of it sticks. But I'm just saying, I would think that the ball goes into Kobe's hands before they pull Jevon off the bench and play him at the one with the ball in his hand. What did I say?
Pulling Jevon off on the bench.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm tired. Right. I didn't even catch it that I said it. But anyway. Anyway.
Yeah. This is all over the place tonight, isn't it?
Isn't it?
I mean, to be honest, I'd rather see DJ Stewart get minutes over Jevon, to be honest.
Yeah, see, I didn't even think of DJ Stewart. But I do think Jevon Carter would get priority over Stewart.
Yeah, but anyway. So, expectations. What expectations have you got for him? None.
I expect him to see very little court time, really. Few minutes here and there. Maybe if there's injuries, maybe if there's blowouts. Apart from that, I don't expect to see a whole lot of Jevon Carter at all this season.
Yeah, like I say, I think he's the backup to the backup, and when the backup goes down, we do start to see a bit more minutes as we did last season. Basically, it's a bit sporadic. Maybe 2 games without seeing him, and then 5 games where you think, why is he on the floor? Prediction wise, obviously grade wise, what are you putting for him?
D.
Yeah, that's what I'd give as well, to be fair.
Yeah, a D.
And the next one, another player that people don't want to see getting any minutes, is Torrey Craig.
Well, he's going to be tired from riding his horse.
Yep.
Yep. If you know, you know.
Yeah. Now, I like Torrey Craig. I like, what he potentially brings, and I like the fact that he is the vet on the team, because we saw last season, even when he was out injured, he was still coaching up the young guys, Dale and Terry in particular, players like that, Julian Phillips. And I mean, obviously, if P. Will doesn't make the start of the season, you'd imagine Torrey Craig gets them minutes just purely because he's ready. We don't know what Buzelis is. There's no reason why Buzelis can't come in to replace Torrey Craig. But to start the season, to see how things are going to go with this, we want to win every game. You imagine that Torrey Craig gets the minutes just purely because we know what he can do. He's solid defensively. He rebounds a lot better than P. Will for a start, and he can get hot from 3. He can also mess up alley-oops and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's what he's forever going to be remembered for in a Bulls uniform.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that is what clouds people's opinion on him moving into this season. Like I say, I liked it. I liked it when we signed him. Every team needs a vet around, or a number of vets around. We can't go in with this young core and expect it to develop, because it needs the players around it to help it develop, and Torrey Craig's one of them. There was a video that I put up on Twitter yesterday or the day before where I had a bit of a joke with it. It was taken from his Instagram story, where there's 4 of the players, DJ Stewart, Sonogo, Buzelis and Bitim, in a jacuzzi sort of thing, and he's put 2, maybe 3, and I said, he knows the unwritten rules, and that is it. If I don't know if anybody's read Damar's book. I know you have. And Damar speaks in there about when he first gets to Toronto and he didn't know how to cook. He didn't know how to spend money. He didn't know about mortgages and stuff like that. That's all helping, and he lent on the vets then to teach him them sort of things. And that's why you need him around on the team. And, obviously it's developing them on and off the court.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem if Torrey Craig gets minutes, to be fair. I don't see him getting a lot. But if he does, it doesn't particularly bother me either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, aside from the mishap, he wasn't terrible.
He's just injured.
Only towards the end.
Yeah. So, I mean, what sort of expectations have you got for him?
Yeah, something similar. I mean, I do expect him to come on and be able to, like, I mean, he's able to shoot the three. He's able to post up a bit, and I do expect him to be a bit of a veteran presence, but I think it's going to be more in the advocate, in the training room, in the locker room, and on the bench more so than on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see him being a bull at the end of the season either, to be honest. I think he's either packaged in with something or we get maybe a second round pick for him off a team or a contender or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Who knows? But prediction wise, what are you going for?
I'll give him a C.
Yeah, same as me. Yeah, like I say, I think if he plays, he could possibly get higher. But I think just for how I kind of see it going, yeah, it's just a solid C basically.
Yeah.
Next one, Ayo Dosunmu.
Yes.
Now, if we go back to our award predictions, I did say that for me, Ayo could have took any of the awards or my predictions for the awards. I did put him down as my player to watch, and I just think he's in for a big season. And I think we kind of need it from him as well. We need that sort of that hope of somebody we have drafted is becoming a legit solid NBA player. Obviously behind Kobe as well, or alongside Kobe, however you want to word it. Because well, that's the next thing we're going to look at is how do we pay these two, innit? If we pay them. So you know, obviously we know what Ayo did last year, the sort of bounce back year 3. I think year 4 has got to be about just establishing himself now. And but I think the difficulty he's going to have is I can see him just being Mr. Versatile, not really having a position, not really having a set role. One game he'll be starting, then he'll be on the bench the next 2 games. But I think maybe that's what he kind of thrives in as well, a little bit.
That Swiss Army knife kind of player.
Yeah, and that's the sort of position I see him taking it as, kind of like replacing Caruso in a way. And that's one thing that I do want to see from him is I want to see him take a leap on the defensive end. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad defender because he's not. He is solid.
No.
But I want to see him take it to the next level. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying be in contention for Defensive Player of the Year by any means, but become that voice, that defensive leader in the way that Caruso was. You know, be the one that's calling out the defensive players, be the one that's reading what's happening, you know, so you can get the intercepts, you can get the steals and stuff like that, and just basically being the defensive sort of linchpin more than anything, as well as getting that 3-point consistent as we saw last year.
Yes,
they're kind of like my expectations and hopes for him anyway.
Yeah.
So.
I'd be very, very much, again, very similar to you with Ayo. I think Ayo has the potential to be even in conversations if the Bulls are having an okay season. But if the Bulls are having a terrible season, I don't think it'll happen. But if the Bulls are having a, what we used to, a mediocre season, perhaps, that he could even be in conversations for sixth man if he's coming off the bench enough. I think Ayo has that potential. I think he's proven that he's prepared to fight to try and strive and meet that potential. And like you say, he's prepared to do anything. Put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. He'll play anywhere. He'll do whatever's required. I think as he gains more and more confidence, I expect to see him a much more confident player this season than we have seen in the last 3. And with that confidence, I think it could bring a whole new spark to Ayo that we haven't even maybe seen yet. I remember the game. I can't remember who it was against. When he was given the final play of the game, when he drove and made the dunk. I think that was his rookie year even. And
was it Pacers?
May have been. I can't remember off the top, and I'd be lying to say I can remember who it was, but I can't. But whoever it was, maybe it was Pacers. And he made that final drive and dunk, and it was an incredible play. And I thought, this kid. And then he kind of, as we know, he didn't have the second season we were hoping. But last year he looked solid, and I think if he's starting to get that confidence in him again, coming into this season, then he could very well be that kind of player that isn't afraid to be taking those big shots in the big moments, and that's what I want to see from him.
Yeah. So prediction wise, what are you going with?
I've given him an A.
Same as me. Bit of a theme going here, isn't there?
You're in my head.
Yeah, like I said, to me, Ayo is going to have a big season, and I think going off my grades for the rest of the team, he's pretty much second in where I've graded him. So, which we'll find out on the next, or not the next one, the one after. So, the next one.
Spoilers.
Somebody that I forget is actually on the Bulls roster, and it is Chris Duarte.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had a good rookie year. I think there's a chance that he adds something if he gets minutes, but where does he get the minutes? That's the problem. You know, he's been playing for Dominican Republic and stuff like that in the off season, and he hitting threes for fun. Is quite a solid enough defender, but I think he's just basically there to package into something else further down the line if we need to. And is he on the last year of his deal as well? I think. Yeah, because he's going into year 4 as well, isn't he? So,
yep.
Chances are he's not even here at the end of the season. And if he is, he won't be here next season or the season after. Expectation-wise, just turn up. I don't know. I really don't know. He's that one player on the roster I think that I've really struggled with, and I said forgot he was even a Bull, to be fair. So
yeah. I mean, he's stocking filler, really, isn't he? At this stage, I don't expect him to get any considerable minutes. I think when he does come on, he may very well provide whatever's required to some degree. I don't think he'll excel in any way. You know, you need him to make a few stops. He could potentially make a few stops. You need him to make a few shots, potentially make a couple of shots in a game. And that's about all you can expect from him. So that being said, I wasn't sure entirely what to go with. I went for the higher grade in my mind, which was C-. I was going to go D+, but I went with a C- for him.
Yeah, I think he's going to be one of them players that when he gets on the court, he will excite the fans a little bit. Like you say, he'll hit maybe 2-3 threes or something like that. Do you know what I mean? He'll get a couple of nice defensive stops, and it'll be like, oh, maybe we should play this guy a little bit more, and then we won't see him for 5 games. You know, and because of that, I've kind of thought, similar to you, I've gone the higher end of where I could have gone, and I'll just give him a C, to be fair. I just don't think we see enough of him, but when we do, I don't think he'll necessarily disappoint.
Yeah, he'll neither disappoint nor excite, I think, too much.
Yeah, it's just going to be there, basically.
Yeah.
Now, the next one.
And I've just realised I left Ayo's name up throughout that whole thing.
Yeah,
I'll just give Chris Duarte a quick flash.
Yeah.
No, that sounded wrong as well. Right, anyway.
Pause.
I'm really talking without thinking tonight. Sorry, I do apologise.
So yeah, next player, Josh Giddey. Now again, if you go back to my predictions, I had him down to be our MVP.
Yes.
And if anybody's listened to previous episodes, they'll know how high I am on Josh Giddey. I know a lot of Bulls Nation aren't, and I know there's still a lot that goes around about what happened with him last season or the start of last season, the whole off-court thing, which, like I said, we don't particularly talk about because it's not even a thing. And I think that the negative part of Bulls Nation towards Josh Giddey is because it's just following a narrative. I think I've said that before. You know,
yeah, we have. Yeah.
They're not waiting to see what he can actually do. You know, they're waiting to see this player that got sat in the playoffs because he didn't perform for OKC. You know, they're still judging him on the off-court thing and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, to me, a new start, new surroundings, you know, and basically giving him that starting point guard role, I think it's just going to, plus the fact he's fighting for a contract, and so he's going to want to get as much money as he can. It's just going to make him become the player that, well, I hope he can be for us. We know there's flaws to his game. We know there's parts of his game that needs to be improved. But the parts of his game that he can do excite me. And it excites me to see how he fits with this roster. And he's going to be a big part in this team playing faster. That's, you know, kind of how I look at it anyway. And the one thing that sticks out from when he had his arrival presser is when he said, "My role is to make everybody around me better." And if he can do that, then he's doing his job. And there's going to be games where he averages like a near triple double. There's going to be games where he gets the triple double, and there's probably going to be games where you think, "What the hell was Josh Giddey doing out there tonight?" You know. But at the end of the day, he's going to be 22 by the start of the season, and he's still young. He's pretty much going to be learning all over again now, isn't he? With this new start, so he's got to learn new role, new systems, new plays, new teammates, and that's why I think there are going to be the games where we think, "What the hell is he doing?" You know, the turnovers will creep in. Well, as soon as he bricks a three, that's it. Bulls Nation will be all over him because it's like, "Well, I told you can't shoot threes." As soon as somebody blows past him on the defensive end, "Well, I told you can't defend," and that will then cloud the 7 assists that he's just got to a wide open Kobe or a cutting Zach or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's my sort of take on him. Expectation wise, well, I'm expecting him to be our MVP.
Yeah, there you go.
Simple as.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see Josh Giddey playing for the Chicago Bulls, and I can't wait to see what he can do. Does he live up to what we are expecting to see from him? Because I genuinely think that he is going to surprise a lot of people who aren't really invested in him yet. And by the end of the season, I think there's going to be a hell of a lot more Bulls fans and people around Bulls Nation that are going to be saying his name. He's going to be more of an interest to people by the end of the season than he is at the start of the season. I know, like you say, there's a lot of people out there that they're only watching to see him fail so that they can give the "I told you so's." And, you know, there's always going to be people out there that are like that. And no matter what he does, they'll probably still say it, some of them. But I think there's going to be more people by the end of the season saying, "Oh, I got it wrong." I like Josh Giddey. And that's what I'm hoping to hear from people, and what I'm hoping to see. And if he has achieved what I hope to see from him throughout the course of the season, then that's going to be a byproduct of that anyway. So I guess that's what I'm hoping to see. My expectation of Josh is for him to win the members of Bulls Nation and the fandom over.
Yeah. So what are you predicting then?
I don't think it's going to be as high as yours, but I've gone for a B+.
Yeah, see, I went A+.
Yeah, see, I thought you might.
But that's purely because I've got him as our MVP. But he is the only one that is in front of Ayo. So
Okay.
yeah. And we're going to just throw this one in to finish off for tonight. We've spoken enough about him in the past, I think, so don't really have to cover it too much. But Mr. Zach Lavine. Now, I know last year we had very high expectations and predictions, as a lot of Bulls Nation did, and
yes,
it didn't happen.
No.
For various reasons that everybody, including us, has spoke about. Again, is it a fresh start? I mean, obviously AK and Billy spoke about him yesterday. They said he's healthy. They said he's willing to do what it takes to fit in with this new style of play. Zach's apparently come out and said he's not willing to, or he's not going to stand in the way of development of this young core. Everything we want to hear, basically. And also, funny enough, everything the rest of the league wants to hear.
Yes.
I mean, it makes a change from when we've heard in the past that people connected to Bulls have said he's not a winning player, he's not this, he's not that. I mean, the expectation is that, I guess, he's not a Bull at the end of the season.
Yeah, I still think that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, like I've said time and time again, he's not become a bad player overnight. And he's not somebody that I've become to dislike. I just don't want him on Bulls anymore. You know, I think he could go off and thrive somewhere else, in the right sort of setting. And if he gets in the right setting, he could end up with a ring. Because I think if you put in better players around him, where he's not having to be 1A or 1B, then what Zach can add is enough to add to win a ring, basically. I mean, we saw it when he went to the Olympics. I know he didn't have a major part in it, but everyone raved about him when they won that gold medal, however many years ago it was now. And I wouldn't be surprised if Zach is in All-Star contention this year. So if he can get back to All-Star Zach, which is what we want to see from him, then there's no reason why he won't be in All-Star contention.
Right.
So whether he gets to it, that's a different thing.
Yeah, that is all on Zach, as far as I'm concerned, because we know the talent's there, we know the skill is there, we know that he can shoot the ball, we know that he can take a first step like very few other players in the league, and we also know that he can get on with his teammates, but I see it as AK, Billy, and Zach have sat around the table and said, right, it's time to start playing chess. And the problem is, what they don't realize is that the rest of the league has been playing chess for the last 4 or 5 months, and now they're trying to play catch up. The moves have been made around them, ahead of them. They can already see what's coming. I mean, it's a little bit of a case of too little, too late, but hopefully not. The only way that this really improves, as we've spoken about before, is if Zach balls out. And I expect him to, because he is capable of doing so. He no longer has to fight for position, because theoretically, as much as himself and DeMar got on, they were counterproductive to one another. Let's face it. And now there's nobody there that's kind of bigger and better than Zach in on paper anyway. He's the only all-star on the team aside from Vooch, who plays a very, very different position to him. So he horizontal, which he doesn't he doesn't need to worry about that. So, automatically Zach is, whether people want to admit it or not, he's back as the 1A player for the Bulls right now, because we don't know what we've got in Zoe, and Ayo hasn't established himself that much yet. Kobe's getting there, but he's not there yet. Zach is the 1A player on the Chicago Bulls right now. And I've said it so many times that he's not that guy. And that's why I'm out on Zach Lavine as a Chicago Bull, not as a player, as a Chicago Bull. But now we need him to just be the best version of himself that he can be as a team player, not as Zach trying to be the main guy. Look at me, I can score 50. Look at me, I can score 35 on average every night, and give me the ball and I can score. No, he needs to show that he can fit in with a team mentality, allow players to develop. Hopefully it's not just lip service, and prove that he is prepared to integrate within the system. Because at the moment, we know what he is as an individual player. He needs to show what he is as part of a team now. And that's what's going to sell him around the league. And he needs to realize as well that he's not going to go from being the 1A player for the Chicago Bulls to being the 1A player for any other team in the league. He's not going to go into that position in any other team in the league right now. So he has to accept the fact that he's going to be going in as a second, possibly even a third option in another team. And if he's got his head into that headspace, which he may very well have done because of nobody wanting him during the offseason, then that could be the catalyst that pushes Zach forward into the player that he needs to be instead of the player that he wants to be.
Yeah. So, that being said, what's your prediction?
My prediction for Zach Lavine is B.
Solid B. See, mine is based off the fact if he does a full season in Chicago.
Right.
So I've gone higher end, and I actually went with an A minus.
Okay. I don't hate that.
Obviously, that's all to do with if he can become that all-star level player again.
Yes.
If he does, then yeah. So I think that rounds up the predictions for tonight, expectations, what have you. We'll aim to finish them next week.
Yes.
When obviously Bulls will have had media day and started training camp, etc., etc. So maybe a few other bits to talk about as well. But I've got nothing else. I don't know if you have.
No, I don't think I have anything else to add to it.
So on that note, I've been Matt, and you can find me on Twitter at MattCRedUK, and you can find us on all the socials at CRedUK.
And you'll find me on Twitter at NeillCRedUK. On behalf of Matt, myself, and the Fans First Sports Network, thanks once again to everyone for tuning in. Do remember from us both, it is a Chicago Bulls thing wherever in the world you are. Until next time, see red people, and go Bulls.